Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So, pretty excited today because I actually get to film with natural light. The perks of being home on Thanksgiving weekend. But we are here today to talk about all of the new releases for the month of December. Now, I kind of figured December would be a really slow month for releases. And when I started doing my research, I was actually pretty shocked at how many books were coming out in December. So now it's very heavy towards the beginning of the month. And then as, we get to the end of the month, not so much, but that's to be expected. And then I know we have so many great books coming out, in 2016. But 2016, oh my goodness. Definitely 2026. No, we're not throwing it back to 2016. But without further ado, let's jump in. So our first release date in the month of December is December 2nd. And like I said, this date is heavily packed with the releases. So grab a snack, grab a drink, hang on tight. So the very first of which was, I believe this is going to be book 3 in a trilogy. And this is called The Dark is Descending. And this is by Chloe C. Penarata. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And it says it's going to be the conclusion in the Nightfall trilogy. It says the strangest light needs the deepest shadows. Now, I don't want to read too much into this one just because it is the third book in a trilogy. But if you were interested in this one, I'll have it linked below, as I will with all the other ones too. All right, after that, we have The Day I Lost You. And this is by Ruth Mancini. I feel like I've heard this name before, but now I remember. Nope, this one is not a debut one. I was like, I just have to double check. But it says, this is a twisty thriller about a missing child and 3 adults whose shared secrets and hidden history could prove deadly. So I think especially this month, I'm going to try to keep these as short and sweet as possible. But, I can't deny a good thriller. After that, we have Friends and Liars, and this is by Kit Frick. And this says, it is an insidious thriller about 4 estranged friends trapped in a powerful family's deadly games at a luxe estate in the Italian countryside. So, sounds interesting. And I love a good, more isolated thriller like that. I've read a lot of them. And, speaking of when I tried to jump to timelines before, I think I read so many good, like isolated thrillers like early in my booktube career, and I'm waiting for someone to come knock my socks off again. So who knows? That could be it. After that, we do have a debut. I love finding a good debut. And this is The Gallagher Place by Julie Dorr. And it says, she's actually quoted by Lisa Unger, who says this is gothic and twisty, and that we shouldn't miss it. But it says it's going to be a layered exploration of family secrets, sibling misconceptions, and an unsolved murder. Ooh. And it's going to be set in New York's Dutchess County. Not 1,000% sure where that is, but it definitely caught my eye. Obviously, thriller, and yeah, I love a good debut. So after that, we have The House Guest, which I feel like is a very common title, but this is by Amber and Danielle Brown, which I have heard of books that they've written together. I don't think I've picked any up. I feel like I might have one on my Kindle. And it looks like, let's see. We have a character whose world has been turned upside down, and she's haunted by nightmares of her mother's death. So she's very sleep deprived. So we could have an unreliable narrator here. And she is looking for just a relaxing week away with her partner and some of her friends. But they're going to a lake house in the Catskills, and things are going to take a dark turn. So don't want to read too much more, but could be really interesting. All right, after that, we have No One Aboard, and this is by Emily McGuire. And it says it's going to be the White Lotus meets The Last Thing He Told Me in this domestic mystery about a luxury sailboat found floating adrift in the ocean and the secrets of the missing family who set sail aboard it weeks before. So where is everybody? Like I said, I was shocked at all the books coming out and so many really interesting thrillers. So we shall see. Then we have Watch Us Fall and this is by Christina Kovac. And it says it's going to be a work of suspense that's impossible to put down. And it's going to be a twisting missing persons mystery and a heartbreaking love story, as well as an insightful exploration of the nature of obsession and trauma. So yeah, we have some friends that share a glamorous but decaying house, and yeah, something it looks like is going to happen. I mean, there's a little bit of a longer description here, but it says it's going to be an examination of the things we tell ourselves when we can't face the truth. Interesting. All right, after that, we have an author that I know I've talked about before, and I know I have at least one book on my shelves by, and this is The Bodyguard Affair, and this is by Amy Lee. And it says it is going to be a secret romance writer discovers that the hottest story of summer might just be the one happening between her and the prime minister's bodyguard. Interesting. And so, I wonder if it is actually set in summer. Oh yeah, they're going to pretend a date for the summer. So kind of an interesting one to come out in December, but we have that one. All right, after that, and like I said, this first release date in December is just crazy. We have The Mating Game, and this is by Lana Ferguson. I know I have talked about some of her books before as well. And it says 2 wolf shifters, so a little bit of fantasy here, are reluctant to love, and they're going to discover that there's no fighting the call of the wild, and it's going to be a steamy romance. So if you are a fan of hers, I'm not sure if all of her books are slight fantasy romance, but we'll see. All right, then we have, I gotta find my place here, like I said, long list. Before I Forget, and this is by Tori Henwood Hone, and it says it's going to be a funny, heartfelt, late coming-of-age story that examines the role of memory in holding us back and in moving us forward. So it says that this would be for fans of the collected Regrets of Clover, which I have read that one, and Mame, which I do believe I read that one too. So, and you know, it could be based on kind of like a quarter life crisis, and the person's only 26. So, and it says it's going to have laugh out loud humor, and you're going to explore the nuance of family, the complexities of memory, and how sometimes the people we know the best are the ones who surprise us the most. So there's that. All right, following that, another one that caught my eye, probably more so because it looked, sorry, my whole desk is shaking right now. It looked similar to books that I picked up in the past, and this is The Heir Apparent, and this is by Rebecca Armitage, and it says it's going to be an irresistible modern fairy tale about a British princess who must decide between her duty to her family or to her own heart. So just a fun, lighthearted story. I like that in December, especially because I think a lot of our like holiday romances have already come out, so something new. After that, we have one called Needle Lake, and this is by Justine Champagne. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it says 2 cousins on very different sides of girlhood, of teen girlhood, that is, spend a winter together that changes both of their lives forever. So a little bit of a family story, and how things are. I believe they're going to be 14 years old, but the quote here says, and once after Elna came to stay, I watched a man drowned there on Christmas Eve, his body trapped beneath the ice. Eerie. So yeah, and it's going to be a portrait of girlhood and the overwhelming, sometimes dangerous intensities of adolescence. So a little bit more hard hitting there, I would think. All right, after that one, we have another debut, and this is When the Fireflies Dance, and this is by Aisha Hassan. Beautiful cover, love this cover. And it says it's inspired by a shocking true story. This haunting debut novel of love, brotherhood, resilience, and redemption is set in Pakistan and calls to mind the modern classics of The Kite Runner and The Beekeeper of Aleppo. Can't say I recall that second story, but you know, we're looking at kind of rescuing people from their past and a lot of things that are going on. So could be a very interesting debut to take a look at. Following that, yes, we are still going on December 2nd here. We have, whoop, come on. It would help if I wouldn't lose my spot. There we go. We have The Curse of the Coal Women, and this is by Mary L. Thompson. It says 3 generations of women struggle with a curse unfairly placed on their ancestors. And this is going to be a gothic story of magic, queer love, and mother-daughter relationships, perfect for fans of spells for forgetting and practical magic, which I know are really, really popular. So, like I said, keeping these short and sweet, but they will always be linked below if you want to check out more. All right, next up we have, oh my gosh, I linked one twice. Goodness gracious, Amber. I can't take myself anywhere. All right, we have Fallen Gods, and this is by Rachel Van Dyken. Looks like this is going to be the first book in a series. Beautiful edition here. And it says, this is a breathtaking collectible piece. They said the gods were myth, that the giants were only stories told around dying fires. They lied. Ooh, I feel like that is like a perfect way to kind of reel you in and decide if this is one for you. But definitely interested in that one. And I am just going to, I see what I did there. I see what I did. All right, after that, we have The Happiness Collector. And, oh, I like the tagline here. This is by Crystal King, and it says, this is a contemporary fantasy pitting modern humans against ancient gods. I know we've had a couple books kind of like that, so that have come out in the last couple years. So it says this is urban fantasy, unexpected romance, and mythology are all going to collide. For fans of V.E. Schwab, and a historian's dream job in Italy takes a dark turn when she discovers her employers aren't exactly human. Interesting. Oh, cool. I love the little blips that they're giving these, you know, to just give us kind of a little bit of hook. After that, we have The Library of Fates. This is going to be a dark academia with some magical realism by Margot Harrison. It says, when its librarian keeper mysteriously dies, 2 former classmates must race to locate a rare book from their college years that can foretell your future if you confess a secret from your past. But someone is intent on protecting what's hidden inside. It says that you can write the story of your future and hide the secrets of your past. I like the idea of that. All right, so that will definitely be one I'm going to be checking out. After that, a book from an author who I quite enjoy. I actually think I have a collection of them somewhere. As we know, sometimes I can never find anything on my shelves, but this is The Obsession, and this is by Natasha Preston. Definitely more YA, but I would say older YA. And it says, what if being famous was the most dangerous thing you ever did? And it says this is going to be a twisted tale of social media, secrets, and survival. The tagline here says, someone is always watching. I cannot wait for that one for sure. All right, one that I actually had no idea was coming out, but it says The Last Days of Marilyn Monroe, and this is a true crime thriller written by James Patterson along with Imogen Edwards-Jones. So it says we are going to get a true crime thriller about a woman who changed Hollywood's history and whose inevitable image captures our imagination to this day. So it says it's a spellbinding new account of the star's final days by the world's greatest thriller writer. So we shall see, but I think if you're a fan of Marilyn Monroe, that might be one you want to check out. Almost there, almost to the end of our list for December 2nd. One that I know a lot of people are talking about. I'm pretty sure I just heard Lori at Books, Ink, and Paper talk about this one, and this is Somewhere, a Boy and a Bear. And this is the A.A. Milne and the Creation of Winnie the Pooh. So this is written by Giles Brandreth, and it's because of for the 100th anniversary of the publication of Winnie the Pooh. My goodness, I can't talk today. It's the chronicles, they chronicle the writing of this beloved classic and the life of its creator. So if you are a fan of Winnie the Pooh, I know Lori definitely said she was. That'll be coming out on the 2nd. And then last but certainly not least of all the books I found coming out on December 2nd, it is There's Always Next Year, and this is by Leah Johnson and George M. Johnson. Now, I believe they don't normally write together, but in this one they are. And it says it's going to be a snow-kissed, warm-hearted ode to new beginnings, second chances, and the real enduring magic of love and community. So it looks like it's going to be a revolutionary new holiday rom-com for fans of Lynn Painter, Alice Osman, and Nicola Yoon. So I believe, if I'm remembering from a couple of the other people I've heard talking about this one, I think it's centered around New Year's Eve, which makes sense with the title. And it says, it is a dual point of view, double love story about what it means to nearly blow your life up and race to put it back together before your time runs out. So very, very interesting and kind of perfect for this time of year. But those are all the books that I found coming out on December 2nd. All right, our next release date in December is December 9th. Much shorter list than the second, but still some great books coming out. The first of which is Tailored Realities, and this is by Brandon Sanderson. I think this is probably a highly anticipated for those of you that are really into, you know, I guess he would be considered fantasy, and, you know, he's just a really well-known author. So this one says, let's see, a new short fiction. Okay, so it's a short fiction collection, including the never-before-published novella Moment Zero. So I'm sure if you're a fan of Brandon Sanderson, you know of those. But it says, spanning the genres of fantasy and science fiction, it is going to include 10 works of short fiction from, you know, this beloved bestseller. So if you are a fan of Brandon Sanderson, that might be one you want to check out. After that, this one is Everyone in the Group Chat Dies. Interesting, by L.M. Chilton. So it says this is going to be a compulsively readable, surprisingly funny, and genuinely thrilling page-turner about a TikTok true crime investigator, a 90s serial killer that may not be as dead as everyone thinks, or as everybody would like, and a thread from hell, a long-buried secrets that just won't stay in the grave where they belong. Sounds like a lot of complicatedness, but this one almost screams like Audrey at Chapter Converse's name, so check it out in the link below. After that, we have Seeing Other People, and this is by Emily Wimberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. Now, I know in the past I've talked about books that they've written together, and I just don't believe I've read them. And it says, the livings join forces to help their specters and each other move on in this emotional slow burn romance. Interesting. So it says, two people haunted by their exes find that love isn't dead in this heartfelt romance. So little like ghosty turn romance. Could be an interesting one to read in December. After that, we have one that the title just caught me for sure, and this is The Time Hop Coffee Shop. This is by Phaedra Patrick, and I had never heard of Phaedra Patrick, but once I kind of started doing some research, she definitely, I think, has a lot of books out there. And it says, this is going to be a delightful, full of heart tale, and it says, welcome to the Time Hop Coffee Shop where wishes can come true. And oh, we have somebody that's like the star of some Maple Gold coffee commercials. But her fame is fading, her marriage is on the rocks, and her teenage daughter has become distant, and her once glittering career feels like a distant memory. So I am sure it's kind of a, you know, find your place in life kind of book. After that, we have a historical fiction that caught my eye, and Lindsay's little library would probably giggle because, once again, it is a historical fiction that is featuring a woman facing away from the front cover. But this is Daughter of Genoa, and this is by Kat Devereaux. And it is going to be a vivid historical portrait of the pivotal yet overlooked struggle to save Italian Jews in World War II, and how one unforgettable woman, risks everything for love. So, it sounds like it's based on a true story. It's going to be a very powerful journey of heartbreak, love, and bravery. And, you know, it's set in the war-torn 1940s and inspired by true events. But a woman who is going to risk everything to help Jewish Italians flee and falls in love with a brave aviator behind a daring secret rescue operation. So if you're looking for a new historical novel, there is that for you. And then last but certainly not least that I found coming out on December 9th is The Birdwatcher, and this is by Jacqueline Mitchard. And it says it is the most anticipated book of the fall/winter of 2025. And it's going to be a page-turning drama that explores the beauty of, female friendship, the relationship between money, power, and sex, and the very human desire to protect the ones that we love most. So, could be a very intriguing book to pick up in December. But those are all the books that I found coming out on December 9th. All right, so the last couple of release dates in December are pretty short and sweet. So I'm going to kind of link them all in one clip here. The first of which is December 16th. I found one book coming out on this day, and that is Love in Plain Sight by Lauren Connolly. So it says, with her brother's grumpy best friend and her longtime nemesis, as Beth's flight instructor, her pilot lessons could be a plain disaster or their first class ticket to forever. So I'm seeing some, hate to love, especially if it's her longtime enemy, who is her brother's best friend, but just a light-hearted romance for December 16th. Now, I did not find any books coming out on December 23rd. Makes sense, being, that it's a major holiday week. I can see where a lot of people would probably want to avoid that one. But there are a few books coming out the very last Tuesday in December, and that is December 30th. So the first of which is book 4 in what I believe is a very pretty popular series, and this is In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams, and this is part of the Rome, Kentucky series that she has. So it is a homecoming to Rome, Kentucky, and it sparks a new romance and lots of drama between the two old family friends. And so I think the other books in this series are When in Rome, Practice Makes Perfect, and Beg, Borrow, and Steal. I don't want to read too much just in case it spoils anything. I believe in these cases, they're probably all set and based on different couples as part of this, I don't want to say world, but this setting, but just in case, I'm going to link it down below because I don't want to spoil anything if there are connections made. After that, we have, it is An Arcane Inheritance, and this is by Camilla Cole, and it says, it is a modern day dark academia fantasy with a twist, perfect for fans of, Babel and A Deadly Education. I have heard of both of those. I think I own A Deadly Education, but I haven't read it. And so looks like we're set at Warren University, and it's like the Ivy Elite. But it's built on the bones and forbidden magic of its most prized BIPOC students. And it's hiding the rot of a secret society that will do anything to keep their own powers burning bright, no matter who they must sacrifice along the way. See, now this is where I could see myself getting into a little even bit more of the fantasy. Not that I don't read fantasy at all, but I like the dark academia twist on it. So that one sounds interesting to me for sure. And then last but certainly not least of not only the books I found coming out on December 30th, but December as a whole is Ain't Nobody's Fool, The Life and Times of Dolly Parton. This is being written by Martha, I believe it's Ackman. And so it says this is going to be a larger-than-life new biography of country music legend and philanthropist Dolly Parton. So I can only imagine what this will be like. This would be one that I guess I'd be curious what it's going to be like on audio, because I think if Dolly Parton read it, that would be really amazing. Or I should say narrated it. She didn't read it. But if you are a fan of Dolly Parton, what a perfect way to kind of wrap up your 2025. So those are all the books that I found coming out in the month of December. Is there anything I don't know about? I know a lot of people like to talk about the new releases, so feel free to let me know of any other titles in the comments below. If you are not feeling, super comment chatty, feel free to just leave a stack of books because we still have a bunch of great new releases here to send out 2025 in style. And like I said, a bunch to look forward to in 2026. But as always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.